All right. Welcome back to the Twisted Takes podcast. We are here after the conference round and games have finished up for the NFL. America lost, I feel like we have, I would say, two of the better teams, but not the ones that were better in our hearts. I don't want to sound biased, but I really wanted to see a Ravens Lions Super Bowl. So we have myself, Ryan. Peyton, you're shaking your head. Why is that?
It's fuck the Lions, buddy. It's always been fuck the Lions.
All right. Michael, what do you feel about the games? Quick.
Um, Dan Campbell, I loved you when you were with the Dolphins. I loved you when you were with the Lions, and I really don't love you right now.
And then Dante.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off that. Dan Campbell's an absolute goofball, but I think the legend of Patrick Mahomes is just growing.
I
So
mean,
let's talk about Mr. Mahomes himself. 2-0 on the road, now 15-3 in the playoffs. Um, Chiefs 17, Ravens 10. And he is truly inevitable. I think Peyton, you said it best in our group chat. You apologized to every AFC team. There's you're not getting to the Super Bowl unless he's not playing, or I mean, like I guess eventually, like yes, the Bengals have beaten
the,
him,
the Chiefs
and
have
now
totally changed. They're now a defensive powerhouse.
mm,
I mean, 17 points against the Ravens any other week that's not beating the Ravens.
mm,
But their defense played so well. I mean, Lamar, ended the game on kind of a goofball throw. But when you're an NFL quarterback, but you have NFL level pass rushers coming at you, it's probably pretty easy to make silly throws. We see it from every quarterback in the NFL. So, I mean, that's just good defense. So good on the Chiefs for building around their defense after they lose their one of the most explosive playmakers in NFL history.
Yeah, that defense is. I don't know what happened to them. They've always had a solid defense. I never really thought of it as top five until really you could see it this year, but the way they've played in the playoffs has just been. I don't. If the defense is playing like that with playoff Mahomes, I don't even see how the 49ers are going to beat them.
yeah, and I also like I'm trying to think back to like some of his losses. Like I know when he played Brady in the Super Bowl, like yes, his defense wasn't probably as good as it is this time, but that game was all about how bad the O line was and how he was running for his life. I think now also with his amazing defense, he has a line where I mean, I think he got sacked for the first time. He got sacked twice in this game, and it was the first time in the playoffs. I mean, you survived like yes, the Dolphins defense was banged up. And I mean, the Bills also have previously, they're really good at rushing the quarterback. To have no sacks with how long he usually sits in the pocket, both is saying something about his skill to move, but also how good that O line's been this playoffs.
I think the Ravens defense was everything we thought it was. I mean, they held them to 0 points in the second half.
Mm.
It definitely wasn't on them, but um, I just thought that from start to finish, the Ravens just their offense didn't look that dynamic to me. I thought I would have liked to see Lamar carry the ball a little bit more. I didn't think he really, had those opportunities to scramble and show what his legs could do like he did in the previous game. But I think that the Chiefs, like, are we surprised here? Are we really surprised? I mean, if the Chiefs aren't favored, just take them. I mean, like every time, every single time.
I feel like the Ravens were a good running back one away from being in the Super Bowl and probably being a Super Bowl champion this year. Obviously, Lamar can run. Gus Edwards is Gus Edwards. He's going to steal fantasy points all the time. But, like, they don't have a running back that, like, strikes fear into defenses. So you could basically sit back. You could put a quarterback spy on Lamar and, and play man or zone defense in the secondary. That's whatever. But, you can really rush the passer a lot better whenever they don't have somebody who's going to run the ball down your throat. And that's
Yeah, I mean, as dynamic as Lamar is, he's not. You're not worried about him running up the middle.
no, you're
You're
not.
not.
It's not a Christian McCaffrey. It's not a prime Derrick Henry. It's not even Aaron Jones had a great playoff. It's not even. I mean, Gus Edwards gets touchdowns, but Gus Edwards is not the main runner on that team. They're
Yeah,
running.
he's not even Pacheco. I mean, I would if they even had a guy like Pacheco.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think that's the main reason. Only having 8 designed handoffs the entire game is a major game plan flaw
Well, that's
on
because they don't have a
Harbaugh's
running
part.
back one.
Well, I know they didn't have a running back one all year. It's the same running game they've had all year, and they were the leading rushing team in the NFL. Like they are pretty much every year because they're good at getting their running backs in positions to succeed. It 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 was unfortunate that they only had 8 handoffs because it was never a blowout. There was never really any reason to fully give up the run until like the fourth quarter. So why only 8 hand? I know they like getting Lamar involved, but you got to design a running game a little bit first. That was just kind of goofy.
Yeah, I agree. Like I think like the Ravens defense was so good in the second half, but I want to see what Mahomes' line is for like, or technically the Chiefs line is to score on first drive, because when he is scripted, there is no stopping this man. Like he just knows where to go. Now that he has Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce, I mean, those are the only two guys he's using. MVS sealed the game, yes, but um he's going to score on that first drive, touchdown or field goal. But they had to capitalize in that second half. This Ravens defense got 7 stops. They made them turn the ball over 7 times, either by I think they were all by punts. But that was the stat I saw. 7 stops, and to only score 3 points in the second half is just brutal. I mean, they got very close once. I'm not calling that Isaiah Likely one close. They should have maybe gotten a field goal from that, but like 7 stops, you that's your chance to beat Mahomes. If you give that up, it's you can't beat him. And then before we move on, I just want to talk about Kadarius Toney, who might end up with a Super Bowl ring. Um, Now I listened to the live and I saw the comments. So he was clowning on the Chiefs for hiding the fact that he is so bad at football that they're not playing him.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing to like flex about. Like I would just kind of, keep my mouth shut and kind of go with it because saying that they're lying about your injuries in the postseason only insinuates that they just want you nowhere near the football field. And that's a shame because he was such a huge reason why they won the Super Bowl last year. He was so good in that game against the Eagles. I know he sucked a lot of this year and has
Yeah, but
maybe
after
cost them
after that
3
Super Bowl
games.
game, man, he went ham on Giants fans on Twitter. That was the funniest thing of the offseason, in my opinion. Or
He
Antonio Brown.
he is a character for sure. Yeah, I don't really see what the point in doing all that was, but do you think I'll pose a question here. Do you think that he will accept the ring if they win it after being
Yes.
disrespected like
Oh,
that?
he will. Oh my God, yes, he will.
Bro, it's Kadarius Toney. He's taking that ring.
So
He
now
wants to.
I mean, he
Peyton, you
doesn't
said
want it.
he had a
He's
kid.
not going to have another contract after this.
No, that's why he's gonna want it. It'll be
Yeah.
his last chance.
So Peyton, he did have a kid, correct?
Yeah, he had a kid on Saturday night.
If he plays in the Super Bowl, then anytime touchdown.
No.
Yes, it's the
Any
baby bump.
I
anytime
I couldn't bring
offsides,
myself.
anytime offsides, yes.
This is
Like I
all
said,
part of their game
Patrick Mahomes
script. They want
interception if
they
he
want
plays.
them to think that he's irrelevant so that they can just force feed him the ball
Mhm.
because they're not going to game plan for that because they're thinking, oh, Kadarius Toney, he's not going to get a touch the whole game, and then they're just going to force feed him the whole time.
All right. Can we talk about the other game real
Yes,
quick?
we can move on. So
So
49ers 34, Lions 31. I mean, talk
so
about bad ways to lose for franchises that have been through a lot recently.
yeah, I
Um,
mean, as a Packers fan, I absolutely love it. They still have never been to a Super Bowl in their existence. They're the only franchise to have been around since the first Super Bowl to not go to the Super Bowl. But I will say that they did in the last decade go a season without winning a game and still made a conference championship before the Cowboys. But we'll leave that for its own. Um, that team, like I said in the group chat, I also said this in the group chat. I want to apologize on the podcast for calling the Lions fraudulent. The players are not fraudulent. Dan Campbell is a damn fraud, though. Talking about bite him in the kneecap. Bite him in the kneecap, bite him in the kneecap. Okay. Take the points and go up 3 scores before halftime and really bite him in the daggone kneecap, Dan.
Well, so they did take the points at halftime, and that's where I think he didn't make sense with his play calls. I think before halftime, like yes, if your theory is you want to push the gas on them, you want to kill them and go up 21 or something in the second half, also do it in the first half. Go for the touchdown before
Yeah,
half.
yeah, that's
And
what I
okay,
mean.
you don't get points there, whatever. Then they drive the field, they get their field goal, whatever. Then, like, I liked the first fourth down call because, yes, still push the gas. The second one is where I'm like, what are we doing here? You have to tie the game.
They're
Like,
just lucky that they kept their offensive coordinator. He was
yes.
being interviewed for a couple of head coaching jobs, but apparently scared them away with his asking price. I saw.
He wanted 15 million a year. I think that'd make him the highest paid coach by way too much for what he's worth.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going
I
to coach that money, it's got to be a coach that's won games as a head coach in the NFL.
honestly, he should want to go. I don't know if I'd want to coach for Dan Campbell anymore after that because then you
And
get lumped
also,
in with that nonsense.
but you're on the Lions, okay? The Lions have a good roster now. They might be good again next year, but the Packers and Bears both. I mean, I hate to admit it, but they both have a good future. The Bears have a decent squad. They won 7 ball games this year, and they have 2 top 10 picks. They have the 6th most cap space in the NFL. We saw what the Packers young roster did this year, and I think by the end of the season, I saw a regression with the Lions, in my opinion. So I don't know.
I don't know about regret. I still think they were the better team for a lot of that game against the 49ers. I just think Dan Campbell messed up. The entire game flipped when he went for that. I agree, Ryan. There's nothing wrong with maybe trying to keep the foot on the gas. But when you can go up two or three possessions in the second half, why are you not jumping all over that opportunity? There's a difference between being analytical and being reckless. That's being reckless. Sometimes you have to weigh out the cost. I understand if maybe the analytics say you going for it would be more beneficial in that situation. And I get sticking to your guns. But sometimes you just kind of have to have a feel for the game a little bit and understand if you go up 3 possessions in that spot, the game is essentially out of reach. Or not, maybe not out of reach, but
But you're
it's going
also
to be.
forcing the Niners to take, higher risk plays and when it's only a 2-score game with that much time on the clock, they can run the ball with maybe not even arguably their best weapon with Christian McCaffrey. Like you're forcing them to move the ball down the field whenever it's 3 possessions. When it's 2 possessions, you're not really forcing them to do that.
Mhm.
Like they can take their time and that's when the 49ers are at their best. But I do think the Niners are kind of shaky. I'm curious to see.
The 49ers did not win either game in the playoffs. The other teams that they were playing both lost the
Yeah.
game.
Like I'm
I
not
mean, the
like
amount
yeah,
of
saying that you're not saying the Niners are bad. Like I think yes, usually they would win those games no matter what. But yes, I mean they have not looked unbeatable. They just beat teams that have killed themselves.
Yeah,
One
after Campbell went for it, it looked like the whole team lost morale. Josh Reynolds couldn't catch anything near him.
Mhm.
It
No,
was
they
it,
all got
it
the
was
yips.
Yeah.
yeah, it was ridiculous. There were some and then obviously that fluky Ayuk 60-yard pass.
But I mean
There
that
was
that
just a lot their
because
way.
that was going to be pass interference anyways, right? Like I was going to bring that up. Like you have to think how bad this game turned. Like yes, they didn't get the fourth down, but yes,
Well, it
Josh
wasn't.
Reynolds
They picked
dropped
up
it.
the flag.
They did.
They did. They called it.
Wow.
They said there's no pass interference on the play. But something that I did also say at that time was if he did not catch the ball, would they have picked up that flag?
I don't. I don't know. I'd have to
No,
relook at it. I'd have to rewatch it again. Um,
Yeah.
but and then also for Gibbs to fumble it, also for them to not down them at the one. That's things that really, yes, Dan Campbell is the coach, but he can't control Gibbs fumbling it. His special teams going like stupid and not being able to down a punt at the one.
And they missed a
Like,
few catches. I mean, there was a few
yeah,
drop balls that would
There
have
was
been
more than a
key
few.
first downs.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm really glad he brought up that punt. I'd like to shout out that punter. That would
what
have
a
been
punt.
maybe the punt of the century if
Yeah.
that got properly down at the one.
Give
I
him
don't
the
know if
keys
they
to
got
the city.
overly excited. Was it?
Give him the keys to the city. Just
Yeah.
do it. I mean, he
But
deserves it.
that would have stopped the momentum because the problem was they couldn't get their feet back. Like you just had the ball fumbled. They just scored again. You're still up. You're still up. But to get I don't know if it was a 3-and-out. I think it was a 3-and-out. Then they punted.
It was.
Um, yeah, and then
It
to
was
get them at the
fumble,
one,
three and out.
they could have gotten the ball back at like midfield. I mean, yes, they have McCaffrey. How many times are they going to stop him at the one? But they would have had a good chance there to get the ball back. Instead, they drive and they score again.
Their
Um,
first three drives of the half were fourth down miss, fumble, and then 3-and-out,
3-and-out. Yeah.
which is not a recipe to win a football game. I don't care
Mm.
how many points you're winning by. If you do that in the first three possessions of the second half, I mean, it's anyone's game at that point. So
You're just giving them too many. How many drives did the 49ers have in the second half? Felt like they had the
Well, they
ball the
scored
whole
on
time.
I think they scored on, I saw a stat they scored on every one.
I
So
I think they
believe
had
they
like
punted
five.
once.
maybe when I looked at it, they scored 5 in a row. Um,
That's also I mean, depending on if you're including the final one.
yeah, no, I'm not counting the final one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're skipping the Super Bowl special next week.
Yes, we will. Yeah, we're going to cover
So,
the Super Bowl next.
So I do want to mention something funny that happened in college football then. So Michael knows the school. Okay, but this certain group of five school in Marshall's conference in the Sun Belt, I'll go ahead and say it. It's Texas State. Okay. I talked about them on our first podcast, saying I really liked what they had coming back next year with TJ Finley. For some reason, they dip into the portal and get Jaden Delora from Arizona. So TJ Finley transfers to Western Kentucky, which, by the way, Western Kentucky always has an absurd quarterback. It must be nice to be a fan of like Western Kentucky, and I say that as you know, one of their rivals. Western Kentucky, Marshall don't like each other, but they always have a great quarterback. So, but they kicked TJ Finley out. You know, he had like 4,000 some odd passing yards last year. He had a great season. You know, took them to their first bowl game in freaking school history. I believe they won the bowl game too. They beat Baylor the first week of the season, but they run QB1 out of the town. They bring in a quarterback transfer from Arizona who was, you know, obviously was really good until he got hurt at Arizona. And then they have another good quarterback now. But then something came up about this Jaden Delora guy. When he was in high school in Hawaii, he was arrested on gang rape. And apparently Arizona knew about it. They swept it under the rug. They said they did their investigation. They said it was whatever. Well, it came up again when he went to Texas State, and all these students started a petition to kick him off the football team or else they were unenrolling from the school. So 3 days after he transferred to Texas State, 2 days after TJ Finley left, Texas State released they released a statement and just said, Jaden Delora is no longer with the football team.
Oof.
That's all it said. But I mean, I feel like that's got to be one of the crazier happenings with FBS football this offseason.
Yeah, that's. I mean, how do you? I mean, I understand how I guess you might miss it if Arizona kind of swept it under the rug, but gee, to lose your quarterback too because of that, he's not coming
You had
back. He's
TJ Finley. I mean,
yeah,
he's a dog. Jaden Delora is good too, but you have to do your homework before you just start taking dudes out of the portal.
yeah. Well,
In today's day and age, no way. No way.
Yeah.
Homework.
Yeah,
All
they'll
right,
just
kind of.
GPT.
oh, go ahead.
So they'll just use Chat GPT instead of doing their homework.
All right, kind of leading with the college. I want to talk a little about the college basketball slate this weekend. We have a very, very good one. I kind of want to throw the top 25 matchups at y'all and kind of get your picks. One of them is going to be my mortal lock later on. So I'm just going to kind of go down the list. Obviously, there's no spreads out yet, but kind of just testing the water, see which ones you kind of like off of the bat right now. So first one, it's my favorite game. They're probably going to be the top two ranked at this point. The highest ranked matchup, Houston at Kansas. Um, Probably
Kansas.
will be. I do like Kansas as well. I think Houston might, but those sidetrack Kansas's odds for Final Four right now. Me and Michael have taken it is unbelievable. Plus 650 to make the Final Four is crazy
Like
for
what?
them.
Like the like 12th to 15th highest odds? Like
They might be around 10. And I don't think because like you have to think best odds right now is 200 for Purdue. They're probably not that far back. Um, but yeah, I think that's great value for Kansas. Like if they just have
phenomenal.
to, I think they're really a lock to make the Elite Eight. I'd be surprised. I mean, obviously everyone can get upset in March Madness, but
Yeah, I don't know.
Lock
I
is a
don't know
strong
if
word in March
you've
Madness.
watched the. Yeah, I don't know if you've watched the tournament the last 3 years. I wouldn't call anyone a lock
Or
to
if
it's
you
only
win.
Purdue. I just don't
Kansas
like Purdue because
lose
Purdue's
the
not going to make
rest
it
of
to the Sweet
them.
16.
I mean, Kansas literally got beat by a god awful WVU team.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
then
listen,
they went the
Big
next game and
12.
lost by 30 to UCF.
They're struggling on the road. I mean, that's
That's
I
fine. March
like them to
Madness is
win.
not played
I
at
don't
home.
think the Big 12. I don't think the Big 12 is that good. I think they're deep, but I don't think Houston's great. I don't think Kansas is that great. I think I personally would take Iowa State, honestly, to make it further than either of them. They've looked so good recently. Houston, I don't trust. I don't trust one person to score. In Kansas, I don't trust to defend. And Iowa State, I trust to do both of those things. I like Kansas to win because they're at home. If you put them on a neutral floor, I'd probably take Houston by a hair. I I honestly think that's going to be a great game just because they're two of the best teams. But I don't think I have either of them going past the Sweet 16 at this moment. A lot can change.
Just a note here. So they are tied for 12th
oh
with
wow,
Iowa State and Marquette.
Interesting.
So
great.
Marquette. Don't get me started on that.
yeah.
Shaka Smart syndrome.
Hurts every year.
All right, Michael, which one do you have there? Houston or Kansas?
Kansas. Give me Kansas.
All right, we have a clean sweep for Kansas. That means Houston's going to win. All right, next one. Probably almost as good as a matchup. I don't think they'll be as high as rankings, but Duke at UNC. I was going to pick UNC earlier,
Duke.
but they just ruined my parlay. It is also at UNC, but I don't like this. But just for my morals right now, give me Duke to win this. I like them for maybe a little bit of an upset here.
It's a rivalry matchup. The schools also are probably within driving distance. They're definitely within driving distance. So
Absolutely.
Duke fans always seem to make that game like a home game, anyways.
No, they do not. Absolutely not.
No. See, here's the thing: is
They do
colleges
it.
can kind of manipulate more
Yeah, because
towards
they can
making it.
allocate tickets.
Yeah, I, I'm gonna make this short and sweet. UNC is my favorite to win the title. Today doesn't change that. I've seen teams with worse losses, and before this, they were undefeated on the road. They're
Mhm,
bound for a hiccup. I'm still going UNC.
mhm.
I'm gonna take Duke. I just think on that, like in that game, anything could happen, and I think it's a toss up. But for betting purposes, I'm taking Duke. I'm sure they won't be favored. I mean, I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
they'll
no,
be dogs. So
No, God no.
yeah.
um, I really think that game. I don't care if one of them is ranked number one and one of them's unranked. Like it's always going to be tight.
It truly is.
Tight.
Payne, what you got for that game?
I said Duke.
He said
Oh,
Duke.
Duke. Next one, we just saw them get beat down by South Carolina. Tennessee at Kentucky. I think
Kentucky
now
by
that
a
just
name.
makes, yeah, it just makes
Kentucky
my
by a
choice
name.
even easier for Kentucky at home.
I like
Kentucky
Kentucky on the spread.
championship favorite.
So
Um,
we got everyone else going Kentucky. I still like Tennessee. I don't trust Kentucky to defend. I think again, hiccups happen over the conference slate, and I think South Carolina, the fact that they're not ranked is a complete joke and a mockery of the system that they weren't ranked before this. I took them plus 13.5 tonight. That might have been one of the freest bets that I've ever placed. I hate taking underdogs at plus odds when it's double digits like that. That was free. The disrespect for them needs to stop. Tennessee's still a good team. They had a shaky night. Kentucky, they're good. I like them. I don't trust them to defend a whole game against a top 10 team. I'll take Tennessee.
All right. And then the last one on Saturday, we've kind of already talked about them a little bit. Iowa State at Baylor. So I think we all kind of have a similar thing here. Although they are on the road, I do like Iowa State here to take down Baylor.
I played against Jalen Bridges in high school, so give me Baylor.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll take Iowa
I
State.
like. I'll go. I like Iowa State. It's on the road against a good team, but Baylor really has been playing well lately. Iowa State seems to be just kind of cruising at the moment, even against the better teams that they play. I like Iowa State.
All right. And then the last one, this one's on Sunday. This one is my mortal lock. Purdue at Wisconsin. We have a Big Ten team at home that might be a dog. I feel like since it's against Purdue, they should be, but give me Wisconsin at home to beat Purdue.
I'm sorry. My girlfriend's from Wisconsin, still can't do it. Purdue's beating them, bro.
I
Don't
love Wisconsin, and I'm going
don't
with Wisconsin. I love the way Wisconsin plays ball. I think I'm not sure where they were in the Final Four odds, but I love Wisconsin. I love how they play. So I'll take Wisconsin.
thank it.
I
Yeah,
think Final
I'll
Four for them
go.
is a
I'll
little
go
tough
with.
for me.
I'm gonna go with Wisconsin too. AJ Store's been playing out of his mind lately, and Purdue has proven that they're not as good on the road. Maybe I'm just being swayed by the fact that Northwestern is godlike at home and never loses. Apparently, was that atmosphere is good. They beat Marquette at home pretty handily. It got a little bit close at the end, but they controlled most of that game. I think Wisconsin's going to take care of business.
All right. Anything else on any other basketball news before we move on to the professional league?
I did want to talk a little bit about the Mountain West and how good they've been this year. Another game on Saturday, Utah State at San Diego State. That game's been great for years now, but with the Mountain West being that much better, it feels even bigger. Because before it felt like, if they split, they'll still finish 1-2. But with how good New Mexico is, with how good Colorado State is, with how good everyone else is, that game just feels so much bigger.
Yeah, I do. I like Colorado State. I like Utah State. Um, yeah, I think the Mountain West will do damage in the tournament this year, especially in the first few rounds.
Yeah.
All right. Um, quickly, I like we there's not much news in the NBA. I just want to bring up the Knicks, who since getting OJ Anobi, they just won tonight. They are 14-2 since January 1st. Oh, did
Can
I
you
pronounce his name wrong?
say his name again?
OJ Anobi.
It's not even
OG
OJ, it's OG.
Oh, OG, sorry.
OG Ananobi.
OG Ananobi.
OJ Anobi.
I don't know why. I knew it's not OJ. I don't know why. Sorry. Sorry. He's not a criminal. He
Okay,
didn't do it.
continue.
They are 14-2 since January 1st and have about, I didn't add their recent one, but about a plus 275 point differential. They are cooking right now. And with the Celtics looking kind of skittish in the East.
Not moved.
Yeah, I don't know about skittish. I know they've been a little. I know they've lost a couple home games
I
finally,
think,
which
well,
was
yeah, I think
down.
they've lost
Yeah.
two in their
I
last
mean,
three.
skittish is a large word for a team that's 8-2 in their last 10 games. I mean,
I think
Yeah.
it's just the home
Yeah,
ones that I remember.
yeah. You remember the
and
losses because they happen so rarely.
Yeah.
and by the way, Joel Embiid got hurt in this game against
Mhm.
Golden State. So on the topic of MVP, I don't think he's gonna win anymore. I think he's gonna miss too many games. I think SGA is gonna be your MVP winner this year.
The betting favorite is still Jokic.
Jokic.
He's negative. He's negative odds.
He's minus odds. Ooh. I might have to sprinkle some on SGA. I
Yeah,
Yeah, I
think
really like
was
for
plus 240 today, and Jokic was minus 125 or 115.
So I
Interesting.
have some NBA points that I want. Well, some I have one point with some stats that I want to get to. And I'm curious your thoughts on this. So is 60 points the new 40 points? Is
No,
60-point game the new 40-point game?
no.
No, it's still not.
I'm gonna drop some stats on you. Okay.
Okay.
I love stats.
Since 2020, there have been 18 60-point games. Between 2000 and 2019, there was 18 60-point games. 70-point games. There's been 6 70-point games since the turn of the century, and 4 of them have come in the last 2 years.
That's pretty crazy. All it says to me is it makes Kobe's 81-point game just that much more impressive that happened when it did.
I think everyone's just doing their best Kobe impression out here.
It makes Wilt's 100 even more impressive.
but we don't. I saw some TikTok where like we don't have video evidence of it, so it didn't happen.
It's on record. It's on
But-
record. Why would the NBA lie about that? I don't know. That just
But we have videos of other sports during that time. Why don't we have the 100 points?
Really?
Because the NBA was
show me a
broke.
live video of Babe Ruth hitting.
I mean, that does
What-
exist, but the NBA was broke. The NBA by far was like the poorest
Yeah.
of the major
I mean,
sports before.
the MLB
like,
claims Mickey Mantle hit a home run 575 feet. Please find me the video of that.
that I don't believe.
Right. I don't even know if that's humanly possible. If Giancarlo Stanton cannot do that, then I don't know who can, especially off of dead baseballs. But
Yeah, and the technology.
But you haven't answered the question. I know what you said, Peyton, but given those stats, those are crazy.
it's hard.
That is crazy.
I guess yes, but like I don't like. I'd also want to hear how often does 40 points happen now compared to how often it happened past then.
I'm just saying, like I feel like 5 years ago we were talking about 40-point games like it was like you had the night of all nights.
no, I don't think so. I don't think
Not
so.
really. James Harden averaged 40 points over a month like 5-6 years
Yeah,
ago.
exactly. That was in like 2018. And Russell Westbrook literally averaged a triple double in like 2017. I mean, we've seen crazier stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
that
Joel Embiid 2 months ago averaged 40 points per
I mean,
game for the
yeah,
month.
and we're seeing a guy like Joel Embiid score something in the 70s with like 35 free throws. Like that's not impressive to me. And shooting
Something to note, Joel Embiid has led the NBA in scoring each of the past 3 years, including this year. That number's gone from 30.2. I'm guessing. I'm trying to use my memory what I saw. It was like 30, then it was 33, and now this year it's 36.
Yeah, I mean, and he's a free throw merchant, and he shoots a
Yeah.
ton of shots.
That is true.
I mean, okay, but let's not act like putting up 70 points isn't impressive, though. I mean,
Sure,
saying
but
you're not impressed is
but Michael,
very.
So a guy like Steph Curry who doesn't get fouled a whole lot, like against the Lakers in their double overtime game, he shot one free throw all game. It was a technical free throw, and he had 43. That's more points of actual scoring than Embiid had that wasn't on the free throw line.
Well, I mean, maybe he should take it to the rack then instead of being such a little sissy and be on the perimeter the whole game. Maybe he got more points.
It's not impressive when you shoot 30 free throws and you shoot 32 times from the field.
Listen, I'm just saying the fact that it's happened the same amount of times in the last 3 years as opposed to the 20 years before that.
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
Look at the pace that teams play and how often teams turn it over and how many shots the Stars shoot compared to what they used to do.
Yeah. Luka's 70-point game to me was the more impressive one.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's obviously not taking anything away from what Embiid did, but Luka, 16 free throws is still a lot. He made 15 of them. He still had 58 points not off free throws. 25 for 33 from the field.
Yeah, that's impressive.
And that was also like I know the
But
Sixers won, but I thought that game was a blowout. That was the only close game that they ended up like the Lucas still had to like actually play and be
Ball,
smart with the ball.
didn't
Like
they?
yeah,
Cat lost when he did it, Booker lost when he did it, and I think Embiid the game was out of hand.
I
Um,
mean,
yeah,
it
it
was
was
impressive to me when
5 point
Cat
game.
had 41 at halftime because he was like 8 for 9 from three.
yeah.
It's impressive to me.
Or
Shooting
Devin Booker
30
with 29 at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, but shooting 30 plus free throws in a game to me is just not impressive.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the Clay Thompson one. How many points did he have in that quarter? Was it
He had
30?
he had I think 37 points with one dribble.
Yeah, it's insane because you just spot up, and that to me was what made the Prime Warriors so great. Was Curry could do all that, but he could also set up Clay Thompson to score 37 points in a quarter while only having to dribble once. You want to talk about having some team chemistry to get your guy
That's some
that wide
off-ball
open?
movement too.
Oh yeah, and yeah, that's still one of the most impressive things ever, I think, in the NBA.
That's all.
All right, you want to move on
Basketball.
to Mortal Locks? Any bands lists?
I got one
Uh, I
band
I did
Texas Tech
I did
basketball.
want to I did want to touch up on the NHL. Just one thing about it, real quick,
Mhm.
since it was my mortal lock last week. I said the Edmonton Oilers were going to go 3-0 to get to a 16-game win streak, and they did just that. I think so. What they have to win two more to break it, or two more to tie it.
So the Vegas will be for the tie. Ducks would be for the record.
Okay, I know that's not this week, but
Mhm.
since I already have my mortal lock for next week set in stone for our Super Bowl special, that will be my mortal lock again in advance. Is them to beat Vegas and then win their next game to break the record.
Mhm. All right, I already brought up my mortal lock. Um, I have Wisconsin beating Purdue on Sunday. At home. I always like taking Big Ten teams at home, unless it is Michigan and sometimes Maryland. Um, but like I did it tonight. I took Indiana plus money against Iowa. Bang. I took Michigan State on the spread. Bang. Like it's like automatic at this point to bet Big Ten teams at home. Unless it's Michigan.
Mine is Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, but that's next week. So that's my
Yeah,
mortal lock. That's
yeah,
gonna
we
happen.
yeah we could save that for the
Well, that's my mortal lock though. Still. And ban list is Texas Tech. Had them in a parlay. I mean, I know they were 5.5 point dogs versus TCU. TCU gave them a lot of chances at the end of the game, missing front end of 1-and-1 free throws. And Texas Tech just kept turning the ball over and cost me a 4-leg parlay that would have turned $10 into $287. So that's great.
yeah that stings.
I got nothing for the band list. Hit my mortal lock last week. Warriors money line against the Hawks. Um, this week I'm switching it up a little bit. I'm gonna go for some golf. Going for some golf. I like Nick Dunlap in his first professional appearance at Pebble Beach. He is plus 350 for top finishing in the top 20, and I mean I'm gonna smash that. I'm smashing that.
I like
I
that.
think I
I like that
like
one.
it. It's so scary. Like, well, I remember. So the guy, I forget his name as well, but the rookie that was in the or the amateur that was in the Masters. I know after he did well in the Masters, his next tournament he did really good as well. He didn't end up winning, but he was up at the top for a little bit. So I don't hate it. Like he's not worried. Um, so I do like that at plus 350. I'll add another mortal lock. I really like no hole in one at plus 140 for the entire tournament. There was none last year. There was only two the year before, one before that, none before that. Like it's really a toss up that you're getting for plus 140, which I really like.
Mhm.
Um,
Other gambling news before we sign off here, but Georgia may be passing um an act that will legalize gambling in the state in the near future.
Hey, you
no,
can join
I'm
us.
gonna go lobby. No, don't let him. I need my Hard Rock points.
Oh man.
All right. Well, that was a short one today. We'll probably have a pretty decent one for the Super Bowl, talking all things Taylor Swift. I can't wait.
Oh, I got
Um,
my prop bets lined up. I'm gonna get all of your takes on those prop bets.
Yeah,
I have
that's
a
where my mortal lock's gonna come from. You guys already know, but I'm excited to share next week.
all right. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Keep it twisted.